Today's Wednesday. Yeah. Right.
All right, welcome to Week 1 Coffee with Coach. Thank you, everyone, for being here. UAB opens the season with Alabama State this Thursday night at 7:30 on ESPN+. So with that, I'll kick it over to Coach Dilfer.
Well, thanks for being here, guys. Obviously, Week 1, excited about the opportunity. Humbled by the growth we've experienced since December through the turmoil of a new era of college football and turning your roster and your staff over yearly. But really like the people in the building and feel like we're better than we've been in the past, but still have a lot of work to do.
How will you do the play calling, offensive play calling, and also the in-helmet communication with both offense and defense this year?
It's a good question. Mort's one of the 22 people left in the building since year one. So we've established a really good working relationship. We've done it a few different ways. We feel very, very confident in our process this year. Mort will communicate with the quarterback. Nobody else will talk to the quarterback. And then it is truly a collaboration of play calling. We co-call it. We have different points of emphasis. I don't want him to be gun shy ever because I'm the head coach and offensive guy, so I don't second guess him when he makes a decision. In what we started with in the last year and feel like it's even a better process now is our process going into the game, the time we spend together, making sure we're thinking the same thoughts. It's good. Rice was the best example. Rice was the week I had the neck surgery. I missed the Tuesday practice. And then I felt horrible. I wasn't supposed to go to work for 2 weeks and still came in on Wednesday. And I knew I added nothing, right, to the game plan. But by the day the game came, I felt pretty good. And Mort took the lead, and then I was able to chime in when I felt necessary conceptually and both philosophically. It was a really good blend. Charlotte at times was really good because I was taking the lead, and then there were times when him and the staff probably called 30-40% of that game, even though I was taking the lead. So we've gone back and evaluated good calls, bad calls, how the quarterback plays, speed for which the call comes in. And at the end of the day, it's a true co-calling situation where both of us feel like we can pull the trigger at any time because we're on the same page.
First off, the second part of Steve's question there is the green dot duties. Is that Hightower? Or?
Defensively right now, it's the inside linebackers. I think they switch off who takes the lead with it. I think Hightower has had it most of the time, but we do have 3 green dots on defense we can use, only one at a time, but other inside linebackers have practiced with it as well.
And then when you look at the secondary, I think everybody is, except for one on your starting secondary, 6'1" or higher. Is that by design? And then how do you plan on utilizing that?
Yeah, it's totally different recruiting philosophy this year than we've had in the past, both in the portal as well as the high school space. And one of the core tenets is a bigger, more physical, longer corner. The scheme fits that. And it's something that this staff believes in, and I believe in it as well. So the other way works too. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it's the type of coverage schemes and type of run fits that you have within your defense dictates how you recruit that position.
Coach, good to see you this morning. You guys have been open about changing things up this offseason, really working to try to get a different result this year. So just given that, we've got Game 1 Thursday. What do you most hope to see out of your group in this Game 1?
How they respond to good and bad. I think it all, you can, if you just want to put a simple blanket over the issues we've had for 2 years, we've been reactive to good and bad things. Overly emotional is another way to say it. We've let our feelings dictate our actions. And I say we, this is all of us. So I think that if you have one biggest theme from everything we've talked about, everything we've tried to implement, it's choosing your best response over how you feel. Our feelings lie to us most of the time. Most of the bad decisions we make in life are feelings based. We need to make sure we're responding with discernment, wisdom, poise, making good decisions, regardless of how we feel and where our emotions are.
Trent, kind of in line with that, you were so transparent at the American Conference Media Days, like with one of your opening statements and such, and looking in the mirror and the reflection you did in the off season. So my question is, the importance of this game and in your playing career, coaching career, how important are first games to where the season goes? It's probably an unfair question, but just your history of it.
Well, I think that it's a good question because so much, people love football. We that play it and coach it love it, and people that watch it love it. So there's such this great buildup of anticipation. I even the other night came home late, and my wife had a preseason NFL game on, and I never watched preseason. I mean, I didn't watch preseason when I played in the NFL. But I was like, oh my gosh, there's football. Like, there's football on the TV. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I sat down, had my dinner at 10 o'clock at night, and watched a little football. Because of that, I think there's a lot put on week one. But then if you step back and just say, what's the significance of week one? It's one game. Like, it's one game. Now, we want the approach where every game is a big deal. You're always trying to get the next one. You're trying to go 1-0. But I do want to make sure that everybody knows we're a work in progress. I mean, we're not close to what I want us to be yet. But we do have a lot to earn and a lot to prove, too. And I think that, as long as you can balance those two things, it's really important because we have a lot to earn. We have a lot to prove. But it's the next one, even though it's the first one, and you take that approach, too. If you can balance those two dynamics going on, I think you'd probably be in a pretty good mindset to play as good as you can play.
There's so much unknown going into opener, especially these days with the roster change and stuff. But with this group, with having Ryan Lewis on staff, coming from there, how big an advantage is that? And also, is there an advantage that when they replaced him as a defensive coordinator, they elevated the guy from a position?
Again, I think you look at it both ways. I know last night was a long night, and we started to chase some ghosts because of that. And I'm like, stop. They know that we know that they know, and there's a truth there. And I said, listen, let's go with what we see, not on what we think we might know. And then in game, if what we think we might know is unfolding, we can react to that. But let's not plan a game plan around insider information. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. It happens in the NFL all the time. Think about the movement in the NFL. Coach goes in conference, player, free agency, and you're always thinking, oh, they're going to tell the signals, or we got to change these calls, or, we got to block this differently, or play a different coverage. And then you're chasing all these ghosts, and you get in the game, you're like, well, they didn't even pay attention to it. That was not important to them. I don't know what's important to Alabama State, right? And them getting ready for this game. So I know it's important to us. And we will be our best if we're focused on us and not what we might know or think we know or what could happen. We have to be very focused on making sure we handle ourselves in a much better way than we have in my tenure here.
I know it's probably pretty fluid, but what's the initial plan in the slot? Like, who are the guys that you kind of see contributing the most there?
I see us playing 7 receivers consistently. We've done it before. We like it. We want, our play count is higher. I wouldn't say it's one of the highest, but it's higher. It's a lot of snaps. It's hard to play fast for 75 to 80 snaps. So you want receivers playing full speed the whole time. It's a big core tenet of what we believe in offensively. To do that, you need to play a lot of them. All of them, except really one, plays in the slot. So that's the other thing I think that is hard to defend is when you don't know who's going to be as the number 2 receiver, which is typically the slot player. And we have a lot of guys that we've cross-trained this offseason to play in that position.
And then you look at the offensive line, Adam Lepkowski.
Yep.
How much has he kind of progressed this camp, and what have you seen?
He's had a really good camp, obviously by earning the starting job. It's a heated competition. It's a daily competition. I will say that the competition between him and Baron Franks, I'll call it positional battle, is daily. We think both can play at a high level, and both are within the 7-8 best offensive linemen. So, but A-Train edged it out. And has had a really good camp. He's a very smart player. He's been here a long time, cares deeply for this program, the city, the school. His energy makes us better, and he's become a much better player. It's kind of a great story. I hope somebody picks up on the story over time. Just his journey here has been pretty remarkable, and we're really proud of him.
Trent, given all the new faces out there, coaches, players, do you think this team has that prove-it mentality based on what's happened the past couple of years, or is it just sort of a new group looking to forge its own path?
I think it's this fine line of we really don't want to talk about what's happened the last couple of years because I want to say it's 64 new people in the building that had nothing to do with it, but I think most of those 64 new people have come in like, hey, we want to be the reason why that never happens again, too. So there's a little bit of there's like, without looking in the rearview mirror, what is there, right? We all drive fast. You don't always have to be staring in your rearview mirror to know that the obnoxious person's on your tail, right? You feel it. So I think there's a sense of feeling amongst the new guys is over my dead body. Is that going to happen while I'm here? I think that's probably the general theme in the building, but with an eye on, and this is how it will not happen again. And I've tried to take that approach. I catch myself saying, this has happened, or we've done this, or I tend to say it more in the media than I do it to the team. And I catch myself, I'm like, whoa, you guys had nothing to do with this. So let's make sure we're forward thinking, we're moving forward and not looking in the rearview mirror. But it would be a total blatant lie to say that there's not that feeling of that obnoxious driver on your tail without looking in the rearview mirror and seeing them.
Trent, two-parter. First of all, just for data purposes, is 49 normal in college football, or is that higher?
At first we thought it was a pretty huge number. Like it's December 23rd, I thought that was a massive number. When I looked down at my spreadsheet and saw half a program, because that's really what it was. It was half a program. That was pretty alarming. And then you spend the off season with other coaches, just the football community, and you realize that everybody's kind of going through an iteration of this. The numbers are kind of in that 35 to 75. I think what's hit us the hardest is the attrition of the staff. We only have, I think it's 15 original staffers here from year one. And you're talking about a building of 45 plus staffers. We're not just talking coaches. The turnover, the elevation of this coaching staff has been pretty remarkable to the NFL, to Power Fours, to other bigger group of 5 options. For whatever reason, our coaches have been really attractive to the football community, and it's really hard to continue to recycle coaches. I mean, Bill Walsh used to say it takes 5 years of collective experience to put a staff together. Well, that's impossible in modern day football. So at least for me, it is. So I've had to really try to find some unique ways and lean on some people that have had to deal with this before. And how do you get a staff on the same page quickly? Within the last 10 days, we've had two new staffers that are important people to our program. Onboarding people, getting them up to speed, integrating them into the culture, those are all things that are part of that isn't being talked about quite as much as the player turnover. That's another challenge that we're all facing, and we're trying to find solutions that help you build a building that can thrive.
Part two, beyond winning the first game, what are you looking for, with your mind?
How we play. I've been maniacal about how we play football. Again, I'll go to the response. How do we respond after the offense gives up a sack? How do we respond after turnover? How do we respond after we miss a gap in the run game and it's a big clipped off run? How do we respond when in a 2-minute drive, a corner gets beat for a touchdown? How do we respond to hot, fatigue, cramping, I don't feel good? How do we respond, to all the different things that come up in football? Yesterday, we threw a touchdown in a 2-minute drill. It was a really great play by the quarterback, the receiver. But there was a minute 10 left in the 2-minute drill, and we're having a party in the end zone, and it would have been a 15-yard penalty with the other team getting the ball, now only down 2. So we just gave them field position with a minute 10, and they had one timeout to go down and kick a field goal to beat us. Because, yes, it was a great moment, but we didn't respond. Our celebration was outside the rules of celebration. So there's been a lot of teaching moments on kind of a professional approach to how to respond to good and bad. That's what I'm looking for. I mean, listen, I've watched the TV copies. I've watched it live, as I had a coach once say, live and in person. And I don't like what we're known for. I don't like the reputation we have in the American Conference with the referees. I don't like the antics we've shown. I don't like losing games because guys can't have any self-control. I don't like how I responded in Tulane year 1. I don't like a lot of things that have happened. So we've been very maniacal, for lack of a better term, on how we play is as important as what we do playing the game. And I know it may sound like the same, but it's different. Effort is a huge thing. Like, yeah, we're going to give up some plays. We're going to have bad plays. Is there 11 hats flying to the football over their dead body that goes one more yard than is going to go anyways? Are we fighting to get off blocks? We've been engulfed by blocks the last 2 years defensively. Like, no effort to come off of them. The guy blocked me. Okay, I'm done. Great defensive football is destroying blocks. Offensively, are we sustaining blocks better? Are we finishing better? Are we transitioning as a receiver into the blocking game? Like, I can go on and on and on, but all the things that are daily points of emphasis, how we play the game. So, scoreboard matters. It always matters. It mattered when I was 8 years old, right? And it still matters. But I do think how you play it should affect the scoreboard in a positive way more than worrying about what the scoreboard's going to say.
In your study, kind of what have you seen from Alabama State? What do you expect from Alabama State? And kind of part of that too is defensively. Is that kind of where they sort of hung their hat?
They're very good defensively. Ryan created a culture there of a certain style of defense, and it will not change. They're going to be very physical. They're going to force things to bounce to the perimeter and use their team speed to run you down. They're going to, in their coverages, try to keep it in front of you and tackle and be physical. And then they have a very, very good pressure package. They're a defense that knows how to pressure. They're sound in their pressures. They do a really good job of taking you out of drives with pressures. So people move the ball on them for a little while, but like that was, if I had to define their defense, is not for long. Like you can do some stuff, but they have the mentality is not for long. And they found an amazing way over the past few years to get off the field and not allow a lot of points. So it is a real challenge to finish drives on them. And offensively, they're pretty physical. They can run the football. They've run it with quarterbacks, which obviously gives you a whole nother numbers situation on defense. They believe in what they do, so they have conviction in what they do offensively. They've done it with a lot of different quarterbacks. I think they played 5 quarterbacks last year. So they've been able to do it with multiple quarterbacks. And then I think they kind of identify what they do well, and they're stubborn in doing it well. So it's a challenge. Listen, we're not good enough to where any game's not a challenge, but this is a real challenge. And the other thing we haven't talked a lot about is this going to be a big time atmosphere, and we got to make sure that even though we're at home, they're going to bring, I would guess, as many people as we have. And it's not going to necessarily feel like a home environment all the time. So I think the band noise is going to be something we have to be cognizant of. The distractions that can come in week 1. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics that go into this game that make it challenging.
With their quarterback that's probably going to start, the Bodie, Andrew Bodie, whatever his name is, he played, one game last year before he got hurt, but he had started a couple years before at Texas Southern, had a lot of success. When you do a study for a game like this, do you go back and watch him at Texas Southern to kind of learn him?
I take a quick look. I did more defensive stuff the last 2 years. I don't know if that was a good thing, obviously. So I have really trusted Steve with the defense and trust his process. They've asked me a question here or there on things like this, but I'm really trusting this defensive staff to fix our biggest issue for the last 2 years, and part of that fixing is the study of personnel. I think our personnel department is we take a very NFL approach in our personnel department. Gator, who's in the personnel department, worked for multiple NFL teams, worked in the UFL. So very familiar with how those scouting reports go and the study of players and what coaches need to hear in the scouting report meetings. I happened to walk into the defensive scouting report meeting to ask Coach Russ a question, and actually sat down and listened to the scouting report. And it's what I remember from the NFL. Like, you sit down and you let the personnel department tell you what they've done, 30, 40 hours of work on. And then you use that as context to then go study the things that they just told you. I thought that was really, really well done, and I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on the personnel that we believe will be playing for them.
You're going to have some new faces all over the place, but in that front seven and front six, I guess, for you on defense, how important is the experience you have there? I think 5 out of the 6 are seniors.
Yeah, I'll answer this in general. A general statement about our defense is they've played a lot of football, and that was a priority, right? And yes, that is the front 6, 7 in that. I guess in college football it's mainly front 6 because the nickel. But yeah, they have a lot of snaps. Their experience, they're older guys that have seen a lot, done a lot. I think it's huge. Like, I think it's massive in our ability to turn this around. It's also their temperament. It's like when something bad happens, they don't lose their minds. They're like, okay, yeah, next play. So there's really a reset mechanism that I've noticed in our defense that's been impressive. I wish we had more of our offense, to be honest with you. I think the defense is way ahead of the offense in terms of how they respond to situations that aren't ideal. Is something our offense needs to grow exponentially on, where the defense has shown the ability throughout camp and the bonus week to have good plays, play the next play, have a series of bad plays, and play the next play. And I think that comes with experience. You learn how to do that.
All good? All right.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Gotta get to practice.
Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, we're out there going. Good thing I have nothing to do with the first